Good morning. My name is Adrienne Ambrose. I'll be your host today for the webinar. We still have a few people that are coming into the lobby, but we've got about an hour and we have a lot of fun stuff for you today. So I'll go ahead and get started. Again, if you get a chance, please make sure you're entering either chat or Q&A. This webinar is for you to ask your questions, and so we will get started. So again, my name is Adrienne Ambrose. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager with ProtoPie. And today we're presenting Beyond the Wheel, designing multimodal experiences for a connected world. And we are partnering with 42 Dot. His name is Mr. Chris, and he will be introducing himself shortly. He's an amazing speaker. So again, I'm Adrienne Ambrose. We have Mr. Chris Jacobs. We have Mr. Howell, who is our head of sales for North America. And then we have the amazing Mr. Eric Lee, who, if you've been on our trainings before, he does pretty amazing prototypes, and he'll be showcasing some of the prototypes that we've done, not just for automotive, but for other industries as well. So what's to be expected today? Definitely make sure you grab your water because we want to make sure you're hydrated. We got a lot to cover for you. So what can cars teach us about design everywhere? This is 42 Dots modality vision. This will be presented by Chris Jacobs. He has a lot of experience, especially with prototyping with ProtoPie. Amazing wealth, and I won't steal his thunder while he goes through. I'll make sure he introduces himself well. And then we're going to be introducing ProtoPie Connect, how to build modality UX elements. That'll be presented by Mr. Lee. And then we have a panel discussion and Q&A with Chris and Howell, and then Eric will be answering Q&A. So with that, I'm going to put myself on mute. I am going to give Chris the floor. And Chris, it is all yours.
Hello, I'm Chris Jacobs. I am the principal product designer at 42 Dot, leading infotainment. And before here, I was at Rivian as director of concept design for about 4 years. And then before that, I was in China as director of UX for a company called Telenav, where we developed a UX center of excellence for Asia there. And yeah, I'm a designer, and being at 42 Dot is allowing us to create these multimodal experiences that kind of go, beyond the screen. So 42 Dot, if anybody hasn't really heard of them, they're Hyundai Motors, basically a software-defined vehicle arm for Hyundai. And so right now we focus on AI-driven mobility and in-vehicle experiences. And we are developing kind of an AI-first infotainment system. It's great to be here. So I used to say that I design anything that is behind glass, but nowadays that's not true. When I was at Rivian, I was working with the studio, and we were handed a steering wheel, and I had never really worked on a steering wheel. I'd never, I mean, we had done the buttons and all that, but this steering wheel just had these two rollers on it. That was it. And they said, we love this design. We have these two rollers. What can we do? And so, uh, at first we're thinking, oh, it'd be great if we could do haptics, if we could make these rollers have a motor in them, and then the haptics will have these detents that are tied to an interaction that's happening on the driver display. And we're thinking, gosh, how in the world are we going to be able to do a demo of that? So we realized that ProtoPie and ProtoPie Connect allowed us to not only hook up Arduinos to a motor, but to have ProtoPie talking to these motors, and through ProtoPie Connect. And the amazing part was that we could actually build the UI that allowed us to change the detents using a very similar way of how a synthesizer works. We had our sawtooth, we had our square, and by using those, we were able to have a UI that was all built in ProtoPie to change these detents and change where the wall is and change how many detents and how they felt. And our designers were able to utilize this in order to do like a prototype in ProtoPie, and be able to tune how things would feel. And it was a very interesting experiment that ended up going into production. And it was from the code that we had written, which was Arduino code. We were able to kind of move that code and show that code to our firmware hardware guys and allow them to kind of get a really great understanding of where how we would actually create this in real life. So we do have some slides on that actually. But you know, let's see. I'm just looking at the slides right now. Uh, yeah, so let's talk about this for a moment. So invisible AI, what I had mentioned before, is about it's kind of an AI that understands, what you're doing, what the intent is, and as an example, if I'm in the vehicle and I mean, this is an extreme, but if I'm looking cold, the AI may be able to think, oh, that person looks cold, but maybe I should turn on the heat. Or if I'm walking to my car and I'm holding a box and the cameras around the car sees me holding a box and I'm standing there like waiting, it might open the trunk. And like in the car, there's technologies that allow the a microphone to understand what a person in the different seats are saying. So if somebody in the back seat is asking to turn on the seat heater, the system would know that it's the person in the back seat. They would know to turn the seat heater on in the back seat, and it could even be in the middle of a conversation. So that's the type of technologies that we're really like delving deep into. And of course, all this needs to be prototyped. Uh, when we talk about prototyping, you see a lot of OEMs that have like, the VR and they have a dashboard and looking around. It's important to do that, but it's also important just to have a buck, which is like a fake. Any, people in the audience who are in this business understand, but it's like a cockpit of a car. And the interesting thing about using VR within a buck is that you can effectively texture map that. So you can change the interior of the vehicle instantly to see where the screens are, to see what the reach is like. But also, like what would the POV be of a dog that's in the back seat, right? Like if the dog is, what would that POV? Would they be able to see the screen? Could we have something on the screen that that is there to I don't know, to show people from the outside that the dog is there, the dog is fine, and can the dog, maybe the owner would do a video call and make sure that the dog can see the screen. I know it's a silly example, but it's true. You want to kind of see what all the different POVs are. So yeah, we can go to the next. So let's talk about again about this the steering wheel here. Uh, So we have these knobs that had a six-way multimodal interaction. You could push it to the right, push it to the left, pull it from behind, push it from the front, go up and go down. And we were very nervous about how we could prototype this, how we could really look at all these different interactions. And we were able to do it using ProtoPie Arduino and ProtoPie Connect. And uh, you know, the amazing thing is that we could effectively just put anything into the UI that would be interactive with these detents. And so when it came to the car show, what we wanted to do is teach people how to use it. And rather than just show a UI on the screen, we had a typographic a driven interaction. So it would come up, you would move the wheel, and it would say like welcome. And as you move the wheel, it would highlight these letters with every detent. And then it would say push left, and you push left, and you'd see the type go to the left, type go to the right. And effectively, we moved the people using this through kind of an onboarding of exactly how this worked, just using type. And in order, and the cool thing about that was, a one-to-one UI and HMI. A steering wheel is a perfect example of a one-to-one. You move it to the left, the car goes to the left. Move it to the right, goes to the left. It's instant. And the cool thing about this wheel and the haptics is that the UI would move and be tied to the wheel exactly. So you would click it and it would be a perfect one-to-one with the wheel and what you're seeing. And what we did is we designed the detents in a way where over time, you didn't really have to look at the screen. You could feel the wheel and know that, oh, I'm in the volume mode, or I'm in the self-driving mode, or I'm in the changing a drive mode, just by feeling the initial detent. So it was a very safe way of interacting with our UI, where people didn't have to look at a screen or tap something with their finger. And they could do it very, very fast. They could switch a modality just by pushing from behind or pushing from the front or tilting it. And I believe that was a perfect one-to-one experience, that it was like as you felt it, you could see it. So it was, as it says here, it delivers a magical experience. And I think that the people that play with it, they really all felt that way. And it actually feels really good. So and that was all prototyped in ProtoPie. And I think without that tool, there's just no way that, and I'm not selling ProtoPie, and I know that I'm in this panel. They're not paying me or anything like that. I just love this tool. And it allowed our team to show off this amazing work that we did in a way that was fun and drama-free, honestly. That's like the most important thing. Our industrial designers, our mechanical engineers, our interaction designers, like we all got to work with this tool, and it was fun. Every time we went into that back room, like moving through all the hardware, and we went to this small room that had a cover around it. Anybody that went back there knew that the steering wheel was back there, and they just wanted to play with those wheels to feel them. So it was very exciting. It's a great project that we worked on. Yeah, and then here we have, uh, so we have a model here, and at first we couldn't fit the motor in the wheel, so we used a longer motor. I think it's a brushed motor, which is a high torque a motor. And we had Arduino Megas that hooked into ProtoPie. And then we were able to actually run through ProtoPie, we're actually able to run a UI through our XMM, which is that board there, which actually is like the infotainment motherboard. It's an experience management module. And that experience management module actually went from ProtoPie into our screens. We had a driver display on the left. We had our user interface on the right in order to change not only the detents and all that, but also kind of like a remote control where we could move to different chapters or different places that we wanted in our demo. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next. You saw those three screens, just keep them in your mind. The left one showed volume, and the volume had many, many detents. So you would feel the detents, like very, very small detents. And at the top of the volume, the wheel would not move. And at the bottom of the volume, the wheel would not move. And then the menu control, you would push from behind. I know this is the frame rate's pretty bad, but you would push from behind. A menu would pop up with three menu options. I think you can see those. And then you would have a big detent that would go to the top menu, and then it would stop. And then one detent down, one detent down, and then it would stop. And as you felt that detent, the UI would pop up exactly at the same time as a detent. So it was like it was just a great feeling to kind of see it and feel it at the same time. And then here we have on the right side, just to control your gap distance from the car in front of you or behind you, and we could increase or decrease that detent. So if I set the gap distance for further out, the detent would be less. If I sent the gap distance to closer, it would be harder, to kind of give you an indication, like a closer gap distance probably isn't as safe. So you feel it as a little bit harder, and a further gap distance, almost like the detent itself is going into the a distance. So again, we call it a learnability interaction. So your mind just kind of feels that detent and understands, oh, I'm at the furthest gap distance. I'm at the closest gap distance. So imagine taking that to many, many different aspects of this UI and utilizing that ability to change the detents, change the feeling of the detents, change the cadence of the detents, all that in order to have a good understanding without even looking of where you are, what you're doing. So yeah, it's a very powerful interaction tool. All right, great. So we can move on to the next one. Yeah, so this is another one. This is anybody who owns a Rivian. Uh, this is it's a little squeezed, but this UI, it shows how we designed our air conditioning vents. This is something that we had been working on for a very long time, trying to figure out the interaction design of how the AC, how you could, because the AC has these motors that turn the vents. And so we were trying all these different things, like, could we use the camera where if I touch myself here, then it points to me? And we're like, well, the cameras in the first Rivians that were switched off because of, there's just many reasons. So we didn't have that. So we thought, how about we just have these little things pop out? But how are we gonna prototype that? So of course we went into ProtoPie, we wired it up, we prototyped this whole interaction out, and based on this, it was signed off pretty fast by the CEO and the head of design, and then it took our developers like 4 or 5 days to develop this interaction that went into the vehicle as a test. Very, very fast turnaround. I was amazed. And it was because we could kind of show them how we did it. We wanted like this fake 3D. Uh, Actually, how I came up with it is I went Adobe Illustrator. I created a shape. I created another shape. I tweened them, and I said, "Oh, that would be cool. How would that work?" And so we're like, let's just we'll try that. So yeah, it's a fun and some people don't like it. But it's okay. I think it's cool. Everybody, at our it seems to work out okay. There's a newer update of this in the Rivians that has more of a tune texture and doesn't have the icons inside of them. But overall, though, the ability for us to kind of go from thought to prototype to production in a very, very short time was a game changer for us. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So yeah, so I haven't brought up any AI yet, but God, it's almost embarrassing to say, but I'm kind of a self-proclaimed vibe, like really heavy duty vibe coder. I was a front end developer in another life, so I have a very good understanding of all that. But to be able to vibe code and create really sophisticated prototypes, to create APIs, to create, pretty, games, anything, that to me, it's just opened my world up in a huge, huge way. Not being a developer, and not being able to, not in the past, not being able to really kind of create these interactions or create these experiences that I just couldn't because I didn't have the skill set. But to be able to sit down and be able to actually do it is unbelievable. And my GitHub, I had a GitHub that just was dormant forever, and now I have like 60, these repos. I have these tons of APIs. I have we developed. Well, I developed this thing just for fun. We needed fake data. So I developed a website that allows people in our company to go in and create fake album art, fake songs, create a restaurant, based on real places on a map, and be able to describe the restaurant, to render the restaurant, to create a review, to create the food picture review. And so now we have this huge database of all these restaurants named after the people in the company and albums that people just invented. So we can create our own, we have our API for a Spotify, our own, that we can play with data. We can publish the UI because we don't have to worry about copyright issues because everything is it doesn't exist in the real world. Yeah, so that it's amazing. And then as far as hardware integration using AI, I mean, before we couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now I could just have AI tell it what I want. It writes Arduino code. I can just play around on my own. I can tweak on my own. It creates much, much faster decision making. And people say to me, "Oh, aren't you putting, developers out of a job?" It's like, no, because I wouldn't have asked them to help me, right? I wouldn't have said, "Hey," because they're busy and we don't have an FTE for that. So actually just allows me to learn and play and bring ideas to the table faster and just more high fidelity ideas. right. Actually, I'm gonna let somebody else take this.
Chris, any last thoughts before we move on to Eric?
Um, I know I talk, very fast. As a designer, especially in the automotive world, this is one of the greatest times to be a designer. Absolutely. When I first started, I designed my first website in 1993. I coded it. It was published in a magazine called Net Magazine. I don't think they're around anymore. It's for a TV show. And back then it was the dark ages of design. Like I designed for AOL. I had to use an application called Debabbilizer. I don't know if anybody in the audience cringed, but it actually you had to create what's called a super color lookup table, 8-bit. And if you would design some software or design, something, and it would like change the whole color profile on your computer into that, and then the app would launch. I mean, it was just not fun. You had Internet Explorer that didn't work. You had to write shims to make it work, like all these issues. Now, oh my gosh, we have Webflow, we have Wix, we have Squarespace, we have ProtoPie, we have AI to help us code. I mean, it's like, my God. When I'm working in Blender, so I'm a 3D NURBS modeler in Rhino for 25 years, but now I'm really trying to learn Blender. I have an agent on the right side of Blender that is like my coach. It's like my instructor. And just to have that is it's a game changer. So as designers in the audience, my God, just embrace it, learn, pay for the subscription, pay the $20 a month, just do it. And just learn as much as you can. Learn about Git, learn how Git works. Get a tiny PC, install Ubuntu on it, install Claude onto it, have Claude configure it, have Claude create, the Nginx and the web server and the database, and just work with it. It's amazing. So anyway, it's a great time to be a designer.
Thank you again, Chris, for presenting. We really appreciate it. And then up next, we have Mr. Eric Lee. If you've been on our webinars before, Eric and I are old pros at this, and he's going to take you through a couple slides. So, Mr. Eric, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Thanks for the whole talk, Chris. Pretty sure I learned a lot personally. Pretty sure the audience also learned quite a bit from there. So hello all, I'm Eric. I'm a creative technologist specializing in user experience and AI integration here at ProtoPie. Today I'll quickly walk through what is ProtoPie and ProtoPie Connect. Then I'll move on to the exciting stuff with the live demos showcasing how much you can actually accomplish through ProtoPie. Happy to answer any questions after the panel discussion. So I think our slides are still a little bit slow. Now, there we go. That's me. And yeah, here's the slide that I want to be at. So yeah, I would like to think of ProtoPie as an ecosystem. ProtoPie Studio, this is the ProtoPie Studio, which is the desktop authoring software. This is where most of the prototyping is done. We have import plugins from Figma, Sketch, and Adobe XD. We also have the ProtoPie Player, which is a free app available on iOS and Android, so not web, allowing full interaction capabilities right on your device, including the ability to interact with native sensors and camera features. Then we also have ProtoPie Cloud, which is for sharing, collaboration, user testing, and developer handoff. And finally, ProtoPie Connect, which Chris spoke a lot about, and it's my personal favorite as well. We'll talk more of that right next to it, right next after this slide. So here we have ProtoPie Connect, which is what it takes. What it does is like it takes ProtoPie typing beyond just your digital screens and integrate with all sorts of hardware devices and APIs. Like we have some built-in plugins with gamepads. We have the Logitech driving wheel. We have Arduino, IFTT, and a couple API plugins that I'll demonstrate later in one of our demos. Next slide. Just showing here what we have. This is some of the work that some of our creative technologists have created on ProtoPie through ProtoPie Connect. It's a handful of the word. It allows integrations with all sorts of hardware, as you can see on the right side. on the left side here, which is an input for our Arduino, which is like a wheel, and you're playing like a game. It's kind of like the frames are a little slow, but you'll notice that he's playing that old rocket game. And then on the top one, we have the custom API integration where our creative technologist there, he's just using the hand motion to the camera can detect his hand and be able to tap and click the squares that are there. And finally, on the bottom right, we have like an iPad here. What it is doing is like it's connected to a device that is attached to his car. So it's transmitting real data that's coming through the car onto the prototype that he has created with the wheels, like showing the speed, showing the fuel level, and etc. And you'll see the laptop there. That's where the ProtoPie Connect is, and that's transmitting all the data that's going through it. Now, for demo time, I'll take the screen sharing from here. So yes, yeah, can you guys see my screen? Awesome. Here I have 3 demos or prototypes to show you guys. So first one here is a very simple prototype. Like this is for beginners, I assume. Like a lot of people here know ProtoPie, but maybe they have not gotten their hands on it and are not familiar with it. So this is like a good simple one to get you guys started with. So here this is the ProtoPie Studio. You'll see here on the left side, layers and uh, layers and the UI here, like very similar to Figma. We have a pointer here that simply, like I'll show what it does after, and then we simply have a wheel that I'm going to simulate the turning of it. And here on the right side, we have the interactions. This is where all the interactions happen in ProtoPie. So in ProtoPie here, we believe that any animation or interaction can happen with 3 steps. One is trigger, one is the object, and one is the response. So trigger, for example, I add trigger, we have like a couple options. So let's just say tap, we have a tap trigger, and then we select the object, which could be the wheel turn over here. And then in turn, we'll have interactions or responses accordingly. But we're not doing any tap here. So I'll just delete this. I've disabled the rest of the interactions. I want to take you guys through this step by step. So first, I'll take you through a drag trigger. So I've selected the wheel angle here, which is this little thing. Now, I want you guys to imagine I'll be dragging this left and right around the wheel, and it will I would like this to rotate. So I'll just preview this and show you how it is. Now I'll just rotate this, and it is rotating accordingly to the wheel. Now I'll unlock the next interaction. Is like one level after another, like a gameplay. Unlock this. This one is chain. So this one's connected to the wheel angle, the same object, and we're focused on its rotation. Now you'll notice that we have an assign response. This assign response is actually connected to wheel degree, which is a variable. Currently, that variable is 0. It's a number variable. And we're assigning based on its range. What we're going to be doing is like, as we're rotating it left and right, we're limiting it to 90 degrees on both sides. So when I preview this, you will not see any difference, but if I turn the debug icon on, you will see this. You will notice the degrees changing. Now let me turn this off really quickly. And the final one, now I'll just unlock this, is the final level. And it is detecting the variable of wheel degree. So if any change happen in the variable of wheel degree, certain things are going to happen. First one is going to be the text. The degree, the number that I showed you, it's going to display here on the text. And you'll also notice the rotation of this pointer as a response. So let me preview this and you'll see, yeah, it's turning to the degree that I want. And you can see that's limited to the 90-degree on both sides. It's trying to simulate like a driving of a car a little bit. Of course, a driving of a car actually is not just 90-degree. You can go far beyond it, but this is just like a basic prototype that I want to show you. Now, I created another prototype here, which is just the pointer, and all it does is rotate. How is it going to receive? So what I've done it is I created those two prototypes so that it can talk to each other. So when I'm turning the wheel here, it will also turn the pointer over here. And I'm using it through ProtoPie Connect, and I'll show you how it works. So in order to do that, I'm sending a message to ProtoPie Connect with the value of the degree. And you'll notice on this side, the receiving end, we're receiving that variable and rotating the pointer accordingly. Now, let me show you how it all comes together. So this is ProtoPie Connect. Right now, I already imported the two prototypes. All you do is like you can either bring it in from your cloud or you can bring it from your local computer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them all in a group, put those two in a group, because if I don't put them in a group, they're going to open individually. I'll show you what it means. So if I just like open through web browser here, I'll just show this by itself. But if I put them in a group together and I'll view it, you'll see it's overlapping. Let me just adjust this really quickly. On the left side and on the right side, you can adjust the sizes of this and then view. Yeah. So imagine like on the right side could be your wheel or could be an iPad or anything like that. And then the left side is like a mobile phone showing the pointer. So if I turn this, you'll notice the pointer on the mobile phone is also turning. So it's communicating with each other. Let me show you how it looks like on perp. On the connect side, you'll see the values are being transmitted live and it's talking to each other live. So this is like a bigger example would be how Chris showed his demo, where like the two when he was turning the wheel with the Arduino and it was affecting the visual UI that was present there. So yeah, this is just a very simple example to give you guys an idea on how ProtoPie Connect works. And maybe you will find some applications in your own car cases. Now I have two more prototypes prepared. These are going to be a little more complex ones. I'm not going to go through how to create them. I'll just demo just to showcase what are the possibilities of ProtoPie. So I have here. So the demo I previously showed you was just two prototypes, two screens talking to each other. But in this case, we have four. So first we have the mobile where you see the car, and I can just turn it on and you'll see the HUD of the car on the left side just open up. Then we have the top right, we have the panel, like an iPad panel. You'll be able to track. That'll show you directions, that'll play your music and everything. And then on the bottom right, what we have is a controller that I created just for this. This controller is simulating the Logitech's driving. So I'll show you how I've connected it to this with the rest of the screens, but you can, in a very similar fashion, you can connect it with an actual driving wheel on Logitech or any other controller. So let me just turn this. So like I can just horn on the car through my phone. It even has the unlock and lock feature. Now I'll unlock it using just the controller itself. So imagine like you put in your keys and you just rotate it and you turn on the car. And I just want to like, this is simulating the acceleration. So this, I'm just like dragging it up and you'll see the car is like moving forward in acceleration motion. But when you connect this to an actual pedal using Arduino or the Logitech controller, you can actually how much pressure you put on the pedal. So if you put a little bit pressure on the pedal, it's gonna accelerate slowly. If you go higher, it's just gonna go, yeah, And then I can simulate this brakes situation just to pull the car to a complete stop. Yeah, there we go. I'll stop. And but these buttons over here, I have connected it to my music. So you know how when you're driving for smart controller, you want to play music, you can just press left and right. Yeah. That part. I'll just pause over here. And you'll also notice I could talk to it. So we do have voice interaction in ProtoPie that it can detect. Now you can see that I'm just talking and talking, and the text is being converted from my voice to text live. I'll just stop this. And then that could be taken in and stored in a variable. And then you can, through ProtoPie and API connections, you could probably take it to an AI or OpenAI's API and feedback some information and have it talk to me. So this is just like a quick demo on showing like how these screens are talking to each other, or these prototypes are talking to each other, and what you can do with it. And moving on to my last prototype here. This one's an AI vehicle powered diagnostics dashboard. It just shows the car's health. It's not an actual car, but that's why I have this controller over here that can simulate the actual car. I have actually connected this prototype to a car, getting all the data, and then updating this dashboard live. But I'm not in a car right now. We're not. I can't bring a car in my place right now, so I can't show the live changes. So I have this controller with me. What this does is just as I change the temperature, think about the temperature being changed outside, it will just update on your dashboard. And on the right side here, it's gonna take all that data and give you advice. So what I've created is I've connected this prototype to a OpenAI API dashboard. So you'll notice under API, I have the ChatGPT API connection connected to it. So let me just activate this. Yes, now it's connected to ChatGPT. Now let's say if I go a critical low,
Low coolant level warning.
it shows what the warning is and shows predictive insights based on the driving pattern that, hey, you might want to change your tires soon, or hey, the coolant level is low, you need to do certain things. Like oftentimes, I created this prototype with a mind that when I'm in a car, I don't know what the warning lights mean. So I created this prototype as an example that an AI will assist, like, hey, coolant levels are low. Now you should take it here. It means this. What are the consequences? So similarly, the fuel level might be
Fuel
low,
level sufficient.
or the engine
Oil level moderate. Low fuel level warning. Moderate tire wear detected.
Yeah. So this prototype is just talking back and forth with the AI, and the AI is giving out results, and I've said so that the result is going to come out as voice back to us. Yes. That was the final prototype, and I'll hand this back over to you, Adrian. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you again for that demo. That was pretty amazing. So for our next portion of our webinar, we are going to have a panel discussion, and it will be with Chris Hoel, and Eric will answer any Q&A. So please feel free to drop it into chat or the Q&A panel. So for a panel discussion, I'm going to ask a couple questions that came over from our surveys, and I'm going to put Mr. Hoel on the hot seat. He is the head of our sales leadership here in North America, so he talks to a lot of customers quite a bit, and he has a pretty extensive background in prototyping from his previous roles, and I'll let him discuss that. But Hoel, I wanted to ask you, from your conversations with design leaders across industries, what are some of the common challenges you see with teams facing when it comes to prototyping in multimodal experiences? Can you let us know your experience with that?
Yeah, mostly deals with most prototyping tools weren't really built for complexity, for today's complexity rather. A lot of them were built in the aughts. So they can't handle multimodal, full stop. They just can't do it. Voice, touch, haptics, sensors, cross-device interaction. So the moment you move beyond simple screens, they just break. So what do teams do? They generally fake it. They build neat linear demos that generally only work if the user follows a script. But we all know users don't really follow scripts, and when they deviate, the prototypes kind of go off the rails, and you're just done. So we change that. ProtoPie changes that. Let's teams design interactions across multiple modalities, and now even connect prototypes to AI to simulate real world scenarios. We saw with Eric, just really brilliant demo there showing what you can do with ProtoPie and how to integrate AI and create those AI experiences in your apps. So you can also integrate actual hardware, test across devices, and model, dynamic behavior, in the moment behavior that reflects how people really interact with products. So no assumptions, no static screens, real input, real responses, and you surface those real edge cases or uncover requirements that you weren't really even thinking about previously. It matters. So when systems, hardware, and software don't work together as expected, the cost is super high. It's not just budget, it's broken experiences, lost trust, failed launches, frustrated users, and we help teams find those issues early on, before it's too late or before you ship the wrong thing. Yeah, Chris, anything to add to that or any additional comments on top of that?
Honestly, I think you said it perfectly. Yeah.
Yep.
Well done. And I have one more question for you. What can automotive UX teach other industries? Clearly we focus a lot of it on automotive, especially with Chris's background, and a lot of our customers are automotive, but can you give us some insight on how you feel that this is beyond automotive and how this can, relate to other industries? Can you join your insights on that one?
Yeah. So automotive UX is essentially systems kind of thinking in motion. You're designing for an ecosystem where multiple subsystems, navigation and infotainment, safety, connectivity, they all have to work together seamlessly. So that's some that kind of orchestration is really critical across many industries dealing with complex interconnected systems. You can think of defense, you can think of aviation, Internet of Things, a whole range of industries. So whether it's any of the aforementioned industries or, industrial tech or healthcare even, um, the need for different devices and interfaces to communicate and adapt in real time is pretty universal at this point. It used to be where apps were just kind of siloed and lived in their own spaces, but now they're all really communicating with each other, and that's vital. So yeah, automotive leads the way in those multimodal interactions, voice, touch, haptics, gesture. I might be missing some. Chris can let me know if I'm missing any. It's all
Yeah, I have
designed.
nothing to say about this.
It's all designed. Yeah,
I
it's
have
all
some
designed to
thoughts.
work.
I have some thoughts.
It, cool, cool. Um, it's all designed to work in harmony. So and often under pressure. You're driving, you're looking at your infotainment, you're trying to stay safe. Maybe you're even falling asleep. And the cockpit has to really take all of that into consideration. So it's playbook for other industries. I think that we can learn from, especially where users interact with tech in dynamic or high stakes environment like driving. So and then there's speed. So automotive UX demands rapid prototyping and iteration because the margin for error is super super thin. So it's a sense of urgency to test, refine, and validate fast. I think it's something most forward thinking teams are adopting, and it's something where we can help. And yeah, Chris, please fill in the blanks. I know there's plenty.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was thinking one of the things that people don't really think about is that in automotive we have screens that look like this, screens that look like this, screens that look like this, screens that look like this. So we're dealing with all these different size screens. And I remember when Byton they rolled out their screen. I remember talking to I think a company called Icon and Car that worked on the, when Byton's like, here we have this gigantic screen. They're like, what do we put on it? Like, oh my God, how do we fill this thing up? So in automotive, it's interesting, we have our rear view entertainment screen. And so it's a great exercise in like how do you design content for these ultra wide screens, these super thin screens, these narrow screens. And that has been a challenge for us and all designers to kind of like to tackle that. But it's fun. And also the other thing is that what it teaches us is that we can't just, pull out one of these and start, prototyping on our device. We have to, how does something look on, on this, like we don't get screens, right? When we are designing for screens, they don't ship us these screens. It's like you need a very expensive, very, fragile card that's developed, by hand by LG or something. So what we do is we develop this software to simulate these different size screens on our we have larger touchscreen monitors, and then we use ProtoPie to throw those demos or those prototypes into these different size screens. And actually, I actually wrote the software to do that. I vibe coded the software to simulate these different size screens. And I talked to our SVP. I'm like, I wonder if we could sell this. And he's like, who would we sell it to? Only automotive companies would like only, so and also in a vehicle, you're moving around, how do you design a UI where if you're driving and you have to glance and look and if you're swiping left, right, up, down, we have to think about that. Like, we don't like doing swiping, to the left and right because you get inadvertent actuations. We in our buck sometimes when we're testing and somebody's typing, we'll shake the buck so the person is bouncing around in the car trying to touch it. We actually do that. And we have these goggles on them that blank out every 2 seconds. So we look at the glance because we really want to make sure that the UI we're developing is safe. So I think what automotive can teach people is that automotive is like it's another mobile device, really, right? And soon it's going to have your calendar, it's going to have all your stuff in it. Of course, there's privacy issues, and there always will be, and that's how AI is going to be able to help because it'll say, "Oh, there's kids in the car, so if a text message comes in, don't show it if it's like something you don't want to be seen." So it's a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, so automotive UX is really it can get super super deep and complicated. So our goal is to make it as simple and seamless as possible. But designing in a vehicle is and also you have people using their phone, which is a 1 foot experience, and then you have your screen, which is like a 2 foot experience. So in the future, when people are charging, how do we tie these together? Is this a remote for that, or is there information you read here and information that and images you see there? Like, how do we do that? So it changes your mindset about what is a great experience in a vehicle.
What about speed, Chris? Like what has prototyping helped with when it comes to shipping the product? Is it something that's really helping you get to the idea quicker, helping you get to the ship the product much more
Yeah,
quickly?
so I'll give you a perfect example. So it isn't, for in my role when I was at Rivian, because I can talk more about Rivian because the cars are done and they're out in the world now. Um, but a big part of my job is selling to Jeff, the head of design, to RJ, the CEO, even honestly, even to the board, like doing a presentation to the board, like we had to show our steering wheel to the board and say, what do you think? And so selling it is a huge, huge thing. And ProtoPie allows us to develop it in such high fidelity that we can sell the idea and get it signed off. So we developed a steering wheel that had lights in it. Unfortunately, we didn't do it because of the cost, the BOM cost. It just would have. But we were able to create this amazing experience where we designed some software in ProtoPie that allowed us to tie the lights to the steering wheel to alert sounds. So like if you have a alert for a blind spot alert, the steering wheel would highlight, turn red as your turn signal's going, and then turn green the minute that the car was not there. And we really wanted to do this. And so we quickly developed it. We 3D printed a steering wheel. We had cavities in it. We wired in the LEDs, wired in Arduino, put it through ProtoPie, and we got this amazing this demo. And I remember being in Irvine in studio, and RJ, the CEO, it was the head of design, myself, and RJ, and one of my guys who worked on it, Pat, and RJ sat down. We ran through the demo, and he said, "I love it. Let's do it." Right? And it's like, God damn, amazing. So that to me is like when I worked at DirecTV, I designed a prototype in a software. I think you've heard of it. It's called Axure. Ever heard of that one?
Sure.
You worked there for a while. Yeah, so we designed DirecTV Now, which is what's being sold right now. It's called AT&T TV, and we developed the entire prototype in Axure, and they greenlit it, like 50 million. So, and it was done quickly. So, prototyping is just key to selling and convincing. And also, it's key in knowing what doesn't work. So, if you try it and it doesn't work, then great. Thank God we prototyped this thing. So, yeah. Anyway, I could go on.
Sometimes even more important, right? Finding out what doesn't work, right?
Yeah, we used to do prototypes in After Effects. Back in the day, we would all
Yeah,
use After
right.
Effects. So, but it actually allowed us to really dig deep and look at all the different interactions, right? But then when tools came out like ProtoPie, where we didn't have to do it in After Effects anymore, we actually could make it non-linear. That just again changed the game.
I do have a couple questions I want to get to, and we've got about 2 minutes
Oh
left.
no.
So, Mr. Wig, one of my favorite customers, he had a question. Do you find any challenges with patents? For example, a company has already designed a similar solution to yours, and they have a set patent on it. I know we have a little bit of time left. Can you give us like a quick overview on how you overcame patents, or is this a thing with prototyping?
I'm getting PTSD just thinking about that.
So I guess that answers your question, Wig.
Um, there's 8 patents for a toaster. There's a great podcast called When Patents Attack. It's This American Life. I highly recommend you listen to it. But yes, that is a big deal, and we anything that we do, we have to run by our IP team, and they do a whole prior art search, and prototyping may help us to ensure that we don't get in trouble, or that we do something that's unique. It's different and unique, and so I think prototyping is a major part of dealing with patents and patent protection and knowing if it's in the public domain and et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you for answering that. There was a couple questions. Yes, we would be sharing the webinar. It will be on our website with edits and any of the collateral in about 2 weeks. If you have any burning questions that you didn't get answered, I see a lot of my customers on the phone. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always really good about answering your questions. I'm looking to see if there was anything else. Oh, Mr. Clark, one of my other favorite customers. Um, this is a really good question for AI. So, Eric, you might be able to answer this. Everyone is finding ways to integrate AI into their respective tools. What plans are there for ProtoPie to integrate AI into its workflow? Are there goals of AI integration? Is there something about efficiency? Automation, repetitive tasks, augmentation of designer skills, something else. So, what do you feel the future of AI is with ProtoPie?
We have a lot planned for ProtoPie integrating with AI. Like the tool ProtoPie integrating it. I think the question is more about the tool integrating with AI. We have plans for that, and it's being moved forward. It's still under the wrap, so I cannot reveal that yet. But I can just say personally with me, I've been integrating AI like ChatGPT's OpenAI, sorry, API or other APIs, or integrating with make.com and N8N workflows, such or maybe Claude or something. So I'm just bringing that in my prototypes through ProtoPie Connect. A more direct integration, you'll just have to wait and see that in the future.
Jeff, it's certainly on the roadmap. So yeah, please stay tuned.
Yeah, and Mr. Clark,
Yes.
I always keep you updated. So we have a few seconds left, or actually right there. There was one more question. Is there any plans to integrate with Unity for a VR experience?
We already have an integration with Unity, so you can already get on that. We have a lot of videos like demonstrating how it can connect with Unity. And for VR, it has a very specific VR experience simulation, so you can look into that as well, Suraj.
Yeah, and Suraj, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and Eric and I will definitely help you. So with that being said, if you're interested and want to learn more, there's a couple steps. Step one, feel free to take the QR code because everybody lives in QR code. Gotta be honest, when they don't have a QR code for either me to pay or get on their website or look in a menu, I get a little, verklempt, but that's okay. That's just me. I like VR code, or I like QR codes. So step one, demo session with our experts. If you want to learn more, you want to see how Eric made those amazing demo prototypes, especially the last one you showed, because I know some of my automotive customers are really interested in that. And then step two, if you're interested in moving forward, plan and select your seat. We can take you through the different options that you want for your subscription. And then, as your dedicated CSM, you do have a team that stands with you and behind you to help you. So we're not going to just be like, hey, here's your software. Good luck. We actually help build you up so you'll actually be successful on this. So with that being said, that is the end of our webinar. I really appreciate everybody being here. It was good to see some familiar faces. Thank you again for joining our webinar, and I will reach out to some of you when the webinar is posted on our website. And stay tuned for the next one. And again, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Thank you again.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.